the 5 WSL fixtures to run through this week. I wonder why that could be. And some Championship. And some Champions League. Lots to be getting through. I'm Rachel.
I'm Sophie.
And this is Extra Time with Girls on the Ball. Okay, welcome to the show. Happy Tuesday. It does say Monday on my running order, but we're not recording on Monday. This is your opportunity to apologise to our listeners, Sophie.
Why?
Because we're not recording on
Monday.
Monday.
I was away working.
Yes, what did you do?
I was at St George's Park yesterday and I hit traffic coming back to London, so I couldn't record yesterday.
Well, we do have a big weekend of football to chat through, as I said, as well as some Champions League, which we are looking forward to. That is happening tonight. But first, this is your weekly reminder to subscribe wherever you are listening, wherever you are watching. We love to hear from you. We love seeing your comments. Thank you so much for those that have come through. And also make sure you follow us across our platforms. We're at Girls on the Ball on pretty much everything, except Pinterest and Snapchat. I don't know if they're still going. Right, as ever, we are going to run through the weekend's results in the WSL and the Championship. And then, Sophie, you're going to pick out a player who you would like to highlight and also maybe a particular passage of play or something, a formation, a tweak, something that a manager did that you want to highlight.
Can it be a theme?
Sure. Okay. A little bit of coffee on your lip. Sorry. Is that for later?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm also very sleepy, if you can't tell. I'm not used to being up at this hour.
Yes, well, that's your fault. And then we will also talk through our team of the week. I'm going to say our team because I do contribute. And unless nobody likes it, in which case it's your team. These will be particular to us based on the matches we got to see and how many we've caught up on, which I think we've done pretty well on this week in terms of catching up on matches.
Every single one.
There we go. And then we will round up any other business that we might need to touch on. Okay, let's crack on. This week in the Barclays WSL, we have had some surprising results, it's fair to say.
It's been a good weekend.
Yeah.
It's actually been a really fun weekend.
Yeah. Well, I did the Arsenal game, so I would slightly disagree. But Chelsea versus Manchester United, postponed. Brighton 4, Aston Villa 2, Paris, Bremer, Kirby, Aubameyang and Daly with 2 goals. Manchester City 2, West Ham 0, Hemp and Fowler with the goals. Very dull game. Arsenal 0, Everton 0. Spurs 2, Liverpool 3. Liverpool with most of the goals here. Depends who you ask. Technically, they scored them all if you ask Matt Beard. But I think Villaham might disagree. Capox with an unreal goal. Hobinger with 2. Hines, own goal. And Spurs' Hunt or Bonner, depending on who you ask, with the other one. And then Leicester 0, Crystal Palace 2. First win. Blanchard with both goals there. So that does mean, as I go through this table, please note Chelsea and Manchester United have played one less game. Have I hammered that point home enough? I think I have. Oh, God bless you. So Manchester City are top with 3 games and 7 points. Chelsea are in second on 6 points. Brighton also on 6 with 3 games played, and United are also on 6 with 2 games played. Crystal Palace have leapfrogged 4 teams with their win this weekend, so they're in 8th. And Leicester, West Ham and Everton are all down on the bottom on 1 point, with the latter propping up the table due to goal difference. Although they are equal with West Ham on goals for and against, but I don't think that's something they're going to need to worry about just yet. We are only 3 games in.
Don't need to analyse the table that much.
No, we don't. Okay, so let's have a quick line on Brighton versus Aston Villa. Just the 6 goals, the 2 penalties and the 2 red cards in this one. We had pegged it for one of the most exciting games of the weekend. It did not disappoint.
I love being proved right. Not going to be cocky about it or anything.
This is what I live with.
But I love being proved right.
Carry on.
Anyway, yes. Very, very entertaining game. I don't think you could take your eyes off it. I think there were 2 teams very, very well matched, both with the kind of similar strengths and similar flaws, maybe. I think that their insistence on passing out from the back drives me crazy. Not that I don't like it. I understand, as I've said before, I understand the tactical need to do it, but just not needing to do it every time.
It's the recognising when not to do it.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that's the case. And I think that a couple of the goals were caused from that. Both the brilliant presses from both sides. Like Rachel Daly's goal was instigated by her press, but I do think they can tidy up a bit back. And I would say that Dario, to me, after the game, said that too. He was saying we could be better defensively. But yeah, no, really exciting game. Lots of drama. It wasn't a red card in my book.
Which one? There were 2.
No, the second one was because it's a double yellow.
Yeah, that was Silly second yellow.
Yeah, but there's no controversy about that. That's one game. But for Paulo Tomas, I won't be surprised if it's turned over.
Yeah,
overturned. Because they were claiming that she got her with an elbow. There was no elbow involved. It was a penalty.
Yeah,
but there was no elbow involved.
A bit of obstruction, and I think maybe because of Kiko Seika's height, it appeared like she'd been knocked in the face when actually I just think she ran into the back of Thomas because Thomas kind of stepped in front of her. It wasn't
It was obstruction.
Yeah.
It was a penalty, but it certainly wasn't a straight red card. And if it's not overturned, that means she misses. Sorry, my brain is not working.
It's all right. Keep going. You're fine.
She misses 3 games, and that would be not great for Villa.
she's been good for Villa. I think as well. I think it was a case of that Brighton were just better at capitalising on the mistakes than Villa were. And I think if Villa's press had been more consistent, they might have been able to catch Brighton out more often. And there were times where Rachel Daly would go and others wouldn't come with her. And she got really frustrated at times with that because the press had been effective during the game. But it was, incredibly exciting. Nikita Parra scored her first goal. Michelle Adjumang scored her first goal.
I'm so pleased for Michelle.
Yeah.
And Nikita, of course.
Yeah. And good for Brighton for them to be on the score sheet now and kind of get rid of that kind of weight of the first goal, worry. It's done, and no doubt they'll come out firing in future games. Right, the other games we were at, Arsenal-Everton, was such a boring. Well, boring as in like, you just kind of knew Arsenal weren't going to score because that just seems to be what's happening with Arsenal at the moment. First half was pretty good in terms of, from Everton's perspective. I actually thought they were really disciplined, really organised, and gave Arsenal very little time on the ball, which is something that I thought Mariona Caldente struggled with. I thought she struggled actually on the day, but she was being harassed and harried every time she was in possession, and I thought Everton did that quite well. It forced them to be quite sloppy in possession. Now, Arsenal might say that was on them being sloppy in possession. Everton might say we forced them to be sloppy in possession with our press. So 6-1 half dozen the other. Second half, mostly Arsenal. Everton changed shape due to I think injury or because their central defender came off at half time, and they just kind of banked up. And I think when you bank up against Arsenal, I don't know, Arsenal just shit the bed because they don't know how to deal with it. And there's an element of Everton probably knowing that Arsenal are going to struggle with that. Needless to say, Arsenal absolutely should have scored. They had enough chances, enough possession in the box. There was bodies on the line. There was Courtney, the brick wall, Brosnan between the sticks, having another stormer. So, I just don't think Arsenal really turned up the urgency until maybe the last 10 minutes or so. And kind of by that stage, it's a bit late. So it was a 0-0 draw. And I think Everton, absolutely the happier of the two teams to be coming away with a point there. And they got off the board. They have a point.
They knew exactly how to make Arsenal struggle.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like, they knew what they had to do. Again, away against them, and they were just really disciplined in doing it. And they had a couple of chances their own. Mm-hmm. Thea Trukisari.
Oh, hit the bar. I think Van Dams actually tipped it onto the bar. It was a pretty angled shot, but that would have been exciting if that had gone in. Alrighty, you were at Leicester versus Palace. You saw a little bit of history.
Yeah.
Quick word on that.
Can I be smug again?
You can be smug, but you need to be smug relatively quickly.
Okay. I'm not working relatively quickly today.
Please try.
I'm in slow mode. I'm in what's the word?
I don't know, but you're wasting time, darling.
Yes, I am. Anyway, yes, it was a good game. Palace were really good. I think they've showed that the narratives around that loss to Chelsea and kind of relegating them instantly were kind of misplaced. I do think I saw enough from that Chelsea game in the first half to show me that I'm not saying they're going to stay up necessarily, but they might be okay this season.
They'll get points on the board.
And they'll put up a fight against the teams a bit higher than them or in and around them. I do think that. And I think you're seeing a team who have had to dig in really, really deep over the last couple of weeks. Losing like that cannot be easy at all. So real credit to the team and to Laura Kaminsky for what she's done to pull them together. She is, known as a very good player manager. So I think that probably has shone out from that game. They play best when they are offensive. They don't.
What, like they call people names and stuff?
No. When they're thinking, when they're trying to attack. And I don't mean like all out attack, but when they're not sitting and trying to.
Yeah, and they have good options up front.
They do. And I think I was saying that the worst period of their game was after they scored the goal. Because they then sort of regressed a bit and sort of became a wall at the back, and they soon decided that wasn't the way forward because they were coming under unnecessary pressure. Annabelle Blanchard, absolute class in that area. She's been, I saw her at the Euro under-17s a while ago, 6 years ago or something, and I can still remember the celebration when she scored. She was superb then. She's had a bit of a topsy-turvy career, I'd say. It's not been linear, as many careers aren't. Mm-hmm. She went to Blackburn, went to Liverpool, Blackburn, and then has made her way down to Palace, and now she's getting her chance to shine on the WSL stage. One other word, Lexi Potter. She is going to be big.
Okay. You've heard it here first. And
I'll talk about her later.
Oh, okay. I did hear someone say, I think maybe it's in the BBC analysis afterwards, that this was a 6-pointer, which kind of surprised me because no one has really spoken about Leicester in the relegation battle. So that was,
I don't put them in the relegation battle.
So that was an unusual.
But I do think that bottom half of the table, the bottom 6, even maybe the bottom 7 is going to be super tight.
Yeah. Okay, so quickly then, let's have a note on the other fixtures which we weren't at, but we watched. Manchester City versus West Ham. Man City scored in the first half, and then it was kind of 1-0 for a while, and West Ham had chances, and I think there'll be the frustrations for them where they're not taking those opportunities, especially against
their goal
the teams.
Wasn't offside either.
Oh well, then yes, there's also that.
Vivienne Assay should have put them ahead in the first 2 minutes or something, and it was ruled out for offside, and it wasn't offside.
Yeah,
and that kind of I don't think it necessarily changes the result because you don't know what's going to go on and happen from that point.
Yeah, but
it puts you on a different kind of platform to build from.
Yeah,
when you score it that early in the game, and I think they can rue that missed opportunity. Well, it wasn't a missed opportunity; it was an opportunity that
they took it.
They're taken away from them.
It was between that and the red card in the previous game. That's frustrations for some managers, of course, and we'll come on to Spurs' penalty against them as well. But yes, Manchester City with the win, and I think the main thing for them is they're winning these games, and we've seen that from them in the past, is they know how to win games. And I think sometimes at Man City they'll play well, they'll dominate possession, but they're not scoring as many goals as you'd expect from them. But the main thing is they're winning.
I think also we have to take into account that he massively rotated.
Yes.
And that
big Champions League game midweek.
Yeah, Barcelona midweek. So he rested Bunny, Shaw, and Viv Miedema.
Yeah.
And it gave a start to Laura Blinkill-Brown and Jill Ward coming back in for 45 minutes, first 45 minutes in 9 months. So I think that's what he took the opportunity to do. He saw the opportunity against a West Ham who have been struggling to be able to do that. It's something new for Gareth Taylor. He doesn't rotate all that much generally.
But when you're in Champions League.
But I think he has to, and he's definitely got eyes on that midweek fixture. So inevitably things might not look as fluid as maybe they would if it was his starting 11. But Lauren Hemp, I will give a big shout out to her. She is superb. She's been in superb form for the last 2 years.
She must be a nightmare to mark. Can you imagine being a defender against Lauren Hemp?
Yeah, no.
I'd be like, rotate me, sub me off, please.
But she's been one of England's best players for the last 2 years, that's for sure. And she's been one of City's best players. I think bar Bunny Shaw's goals, it would be the second best player for them would be Lauren Hemp. And she had a brilliant game, and she was one who kept her place because he knows she can stay fit, but also
Duracell Bunny.
Yeah, she just runs that left flank.
She never stops running.
I do think for West Ham, I don't think it's panic stations. I think they played the two Manchester sides in the first 2 games, in the first 3 games, and maybe realistically they wouldn't expect to get anything out of those 2 games.
No, so but I think they'll take positives.
I think they've shown enough to be able to build on that and go on in the season against teams in around them. For them, it is a battle. I do think they will be in the relegation battle. So I think for them, it's about showing performance in these games and then putting it to good use in the games with Crystal Palace or the teams in it.
Okay, moving then to Spurs versus Liverpool. This is always a bit of a tasty game. And this one seemed to be a bit of a wild one as well. Another penalty decision that maybe almost decided the game a little bit. There was a worry that it'd be another lead lost for Liverpool. It eventually went to 2-2 with own goals. I think Matt Beard must have been pulling his hair out on the sideline, thinking not again. And because there were 2 unbelievable goals, and that first goal was a goalkeeper poor pass out, right? She took it on her chest, and lobbed it over her from about, 30 yards out?
Yeah, brilliant finish.
Super finish. And to have the technique to be able to do that. And then the free kick
Super.
was unbelievable. So do go back and watch the goals that, when I say the goals Liverpool scored, the ones Liverpool scored for Liverpool, the own goals less so. But I think Matt Beard was kind of saying, like, if they don't put the game to bed and they have the opportunities to do that, then they're going to let teams like Tottenham in. And that absolutely did happen. You know, those own goals came from pressure. But yes, in the dying minutes, a penalty given against Ash Neville.
Never a penalty. And I watched it over, like, it happened and then the replay, and I was like, that's never a penalty. That's really, really harsh. And then the pundits on the BBC were like, oh, it was a good call. And I was like, starting to doubt myself. And then I was like, but that's never a penalty. Like, if anything, she initiates the contact, but she's more sandwiched than anything else.
Yeah, I think the fact that there's two players coming together, that's almost, and she does kind of make a bit of a meal of it. But yes, I'm sure Robert Villahan will be very disappointed with that one. I know the players
politely disappointed.
Well, of course he is. He's a very polite man. But that is points dropped. They'd gotten themselves back into the game again. So they'll be frustrated not to come out with anything from that. And then also, this feels like Groundhog Day, but there are fears for Lundgaard, who went down with an injury, I think fairly early on, right?
Didn't look good.
No, it did not look good. What looked like a knee injury and potentially 3 ACLs. It hasn't been confirmed yet. Fingers crossed it's not. But we've said this now in pretty much every episode since we've come back, and each one has been an ACL. So maybe third time lucky it won't be.
Yeah, he sort of implied it, like the seriousness of it, I think. So
anyway, gutting for her. Because I think she had an injury last season as well that she missed out. So it's just, it's gutting. Anyway, let us move to the Barclays Championship. Sheffield 2, Bristol 4. Birmingham 2, Blackburn 0, Charlton 3, Sunderland 3, London City 5, Portsmouth 1, and Newcastle 0, Durham 1. So, I mean, 4 of those goals for London City were all scored by the same person, which is pretty incredible. Charlton are still sitting at the top despite that draw on 13 points. Durham are keeping close in second on 12, and then Birmingham and London City Lionesses are below on 10 points. Portsmouth and Sheffield remain without points in the league so far, the former propping up the table on goal difference, so they'll be feeling it with 5 games played. We've about 5 teams having played a game less on 4 games, if that makes sense. Because remember, we have one, there's 11 teams.
There's a bye week every week for a team, so Southampton missed this week.
But listen, it'll keep things exciting because you're not going to know really.
I was a bit worried in the first 2 weeks. I was like, everything's going to plan. This is not what the championship is about. What is happening? And then the last 2 weeks, all hell has broken loose. So I think it's hotting up to be quite an interesting title race again. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we're coming to that point now. Sophie, is there a player you would like to highlight this week, please? Ooh. Gosh, it's such a surprise. Such a surprise. I am going to highlight Lexi Potter in the centre of the Crystal Palace midfield. I think she's only 18. I've watched her for quite a while, obviously doing the youth levels. Absolute baller. Her ability, she looks quite slight, but she's incredibly tough. Yeah. She won't back out of a challenge. She's got great ball control. She can wriggle out of spaces, and then she more or less always picks the pass off to find to initiate like the transition into attack. I think she, we were talking last week about Ruby Mace and England's number 6s. She is another option. Obviously, she's a few years behind. But, the fact that she's come into Palace this season, WSL football, she shone at Palace at the end of last season in the Championship. And now she's getting her chance to make her name in the WSL. And that's only going to help Chelsea eventually when she gets home, back to Chelsea. And then also England when the time comes. Certainly England under 19s at the moment. I think she, obviously, there'll be a thing about consistency and building her up fitness-wise, but I think she's got all of the signs to be incredible. And being a Palace, she's getting WSL experience and kind of out of the frying pan into the fire kind of thing. Is that the right phrase? Where basically you're at a bit like when people played at Bristol and you had some of those defenders like getting a lot of experience playing for Bristol, for example, because they had to do an awful lot of defending. So at least she's going to be getting that experience. Yeah, and I remember like talking to Emily Simon and Amy Rogers at the media day for Bristol, and they were talking about how much playing in the WSL like developed them as midfielders. And I think Lexi Potter will it will serve her incredibly well. She obviously missed the Chelsea game because she can't play against Chelsea, so she was back in her rightful position.
Okay, and from the kind of analysis, what did you say, theme type of thing that you wanted to touch on?
So I was just going to touch on all of the English players that shone this weekend. I think, you had pretty much in every game, there was a star that was English. So Lexi Potter and Annabelle Blanchard in the Crystal Palace game.
Yes. With Rachel Daly on the other end of the scale.
Nikita Paris, Michelle Aguiman, getting her first ever WSL goal. There's so much hope around Michelle, and I think she'll be on the bench for a good bit of the season, but it's about being at that level and training at a place like Brighton and those facilities, and then when she comes back to Arsenal, she'll be hopefully ready with that WSL experience to bounce into the first team. I just think that there's been maybe a fair bit of narrative recently about the foreign players in the league, which we love, but I don't think it's dampening their time to shine.
Yes.
That we've got so many youngsters coming through. And the thing is that you can't replace English seniors all at once. So you've still got the likes of Beth Mead, Alessia Russo playing at Arsenal, but people always want the new shiny things.
Yes.
And I think, you can look across the league in every team and you've got a good crop of youngsters who need experience but need time to develop. But if you're someone like Lexi Potter, you're getting that time.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's quickly go over the team of the week. Talk us through.
Yes.
This is also on you, even though I'm also taking credit because I did help you with this.
This is still a work in progress.
No, this is it.
No, it's
once
a work
you
in
read
progress.
it out, it's done.
So the fullback roles are the most tricky. So at the moment, but this might change when you see the graphic, but at the moment, I have got Lucy Parry at right back. I think she's 20 years old.
You're starting from right back instead of goalkeeper.
Oh, sorry, Courtney Brosnan, of course.
Thank you.
That's a given. But yes, Lucy Parry at right back, 20 years old. I think she has stepped up to the first team at Liverpool seamlessly. She looked right at home.
Okay.
Maria Torres-Dorte for a second week in a row. I thought she was brilliant against Aston Villa in the heart of that defence. I have gone for Megan Finnegan.
Yeah.
For Everton, I thought she led Everton with... she showed that what leadership was for them for digging in, but also basically a brick wall at the back. And then at the moment, it's the left back that's a real problem. It's Amanda Nilden. I think she's had a couple of really good performances that have gone under the radar.
Okay.
But left back is an issue. Then I've got Marie Herbinger, which is obvious. Lexi Potter. I mean, surprise, surprise. Annabelle Blanchard, also surprise, surprise. Mary Fowler on the right. I know she played a more central role in the first half, but she's going on the right in my team. Nikita Paris, because she's going in front, and Lauren Hemp is on the left.
Okay, so it says my team, so I have nothing to do with this. It's not like I contributed, which I did, but whatever.
What's mine is yours.
It's
so
fine.
Ours.
If you don't like it, guys, it's Sophie's team, so I'm not going to worry too much about it. But there it is. We'd love to hear who you think who would be in your starting 11. You don't have to tell us for shit. You can just tell us who would be in your starting 11. We'd love to hear that. Okay, any other business? We are going to say Champions League because it's back.
I feel completely.
For 3 teams. I
woke up this morning and was like, oh Christ, I'm going to Munich tomorrow.
Yeah,
completely forgot
it's
about
back
that.
with a bang. We've gone from 1 English team to 3 English teams to try and cover. So that's going to be interesting. So we've got Chelsea at home to Real Madrid, which we'll be going to. Then we'll be going away to Bayern Munich to see Arsenal play, which seemed like a good idea at the time until we realised it is Oktoberfest and that's why everything's so expensive. And then Manchester City, no big deal, just hosting Barcelona the same night on Wednesday. So just getting a nice kind of warm reintroduction to the Champions League with a nice, easy fixture, which is sold out. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, that's going to be, was it the most phrase I said? Out of the frying pan into the fire? Yeah. That's another one. Welcome back.
Yeah, welcome back to the Champions League. Here's Barcelona.
Yeah. So that's going to be an exciting game just to see how they measure up.
Just also Manchester City don't have the best history against Spanish teams either.
Yeah, but this is a different Spanish team.
But it's also a different Manchester City. So.
Yeah. And it's not Real Madrid or whoever else. Was it Atletico that knocked them out as well? So, have a go with this one. This Spanish team's much...
I am actually really intrigued to see how they match up. I do worry about that City midfield a little bit. And if they can be flexible to adapt around that and try and maybe sacrifice their traditional style.
Yes.
To try and nullify Barcelona. I think sometimes you just have to do that, but I'm not sure Gareth Taylor will be willing to.
I also think they're going to need to play a little bit quicker out from the back
They're going to be pressed.
Barcelona, because this kind of standing on the ball shite is not going to really work against Barcelona.
But yeah, intrigued to see.
Also, I think this is going to be an interesting one for Arsenal against Munich after a poor performance at the weekend. How they're going to turn things around. Obviously, a very different game. I think, Munich are going to come at them.
They're not going to bank up.
No, but, in terms of how Arsenal are feeling after the Everton game. And, I feel like we've previewed Chelsea Real Madrid many, many, many times before, because this is the third meeting in the group stages.
It's never the best of games. so maybe it will be treated to a thriller.
It could be different.
Always, I just remember that it's just being thoroughly a struggle.
This could be an exciting one. So it could be totally different things. But yes, that is coming up. And then we also want to say congratulations to Anhada James, who's been made the Wales captain. Congratulations, much deserved. And then very quickly, Sophie, where were you yesterday and why are we recording on Tuesday?
So I was at St George's Park yesterday. The under-17s, the new batch of under-17s are starting their European qualification. So they're in round 1 at the moment. They played Faroe Islands yesterday. They won 7-0. It didn't look like that in the first half. I mean, they were completely dominant, don't get me wrong, but they just couldn't score for Toffee. But then in the second half, it just all...
floodgates.
Yeah, Jessica Anderson, Manchester United, I think, scored a hat-trick. There's a really good goal from Isabel Hebard as well, Bristol City. Some really good performances. They play again on Thursday. They obviously, if they finish in the top 2 in this group, they stay in the top level in round 2, which means you have a chance of going to the Euros next summer.
Okay.
So you want to finish in the top 2. You ideally want to finish in the top 1 because you get seeded and avoid the biggies. But yeah, it's a busy time because the under-17s.
Yes, I was going to say, in our next pod, we will explain the whole under-17 situation, because there's also a different under-17s group going to the World Cup than this under-17s, because, calendars and federations being annoying. But that means this week we've got the 2 Champions League games. You're going to catch another one of this under-17s team, not the one going to the World Cup, at St George's Park on Thursday.
That's later. 2 weeks time.
We'll get to that. That's why we're doing that next pod. And then we've got Arsenal versus Chelsea on Saturday, which is going to be really interesting. And then I've got Palace versus Brighton, and you've got Portsmouth versus Southampton. That's an exciting derby. Is there a name for that one? Can you tell us if there's a name for that derby? That's quite boring. Sometimes there's like a fun name for derby. Oh, okay. Well, if there is,
I think it's the South Coast Derby. I'm not sure.
We need a better name than that. Okay, and that means we will have done God knows how many games by the time we get back for the next episode. There'll be a lot to get through. This will probably be a longer episode, and we will do it on Monday. But otherwise, join us for a live on Saturday, and all the fixtures that we're doing. We're going to try and have a special treat out for you later on this week, but I'm not going to promise anything. But we might. So if you're subscribed, the handy thing is you won't miss it, right? So subscribe, please. That's everything we have for today. Have a great rest of your week. Thank you for listening, and we'll be back very soon.